Do you believe in God? In 1929, Einstein received the contents of the telegram. The sender of the message was Rabbi Girdler of Judaism. Einstein, after receiving the electricity, replied the same day, "I believe in Spinoza. The one who exists has the order of things. The Lord appears in harmony. But don't believe it. God is involved in human fate and behavior." This reply, included in the first volume of Einstein's collected works, for a long time, even if he is a theologian, or people viewing social networking sites, many people have a curious mentality. Be willing to believe that Einstein believed in God, but the historical truth is not like that. Similar disclaimers by Einstein. Very much. There will be no further expansion here. The main problem is, what is the God that Spinoza speaks of? Why among many philosophers? Why did Albert Einstein especially respect Spinoza? First, let's take a look. What is God in Spinoza's eyes? In the orthodox view of classical Christianity, this world is divided into two basic parts. On one side is God's heaven. On one side is the natural world. Spinoza was skeptical. That is this fundamental divide. Spinoza's monism. Take all existence in the world. Return to a single world system driven by natural law. The only rational world system. In his ethics he explicitly proposed. People absolutely do not need salvation from God to have a good life. The good life is called. That is, according to the rationality in mathematics, living according to natural law is untenable. So all miracles are called. It is not controlled by a personal God. It's a simple natural phenomenon. The unknowable, incomprehensible miracles and blessings. It is an illusion caused by intellectual knowledge that is not strong enough. God's miracles are just that. Religious organizations and monks, imposed on people's minds, are virtual concepts, regardless of God's will. It also follows an undeniable geometric logic. These wills are the result of natural law. So God is nature. Nature is God. Nature operates according to a single mathematical rule: 22 equals 5. People do not need to live according to God's will. Just live by the universal laws of mathematics. Happiness will be achieved. Spinoza. Don't just put God and nature in the same equal sign. But it goes further than breaking God's character. In the traditional concept, there is a God of the past. God should have the appearance of a Middle Eastern person. He is a person with thoughts and plans. Happy to have to choose. Happy to look at and take care of my work. Such a supreme reality. For those who are still in those traditional concepts. Self-critical voice. Spinoza once replied, if a triangle could talk, he will also think that God is an extraordinary triangle. Similarly, a circle will also think that God's nature is an extraordinary circle. Everything will use this method. Shine the light of your character on God. Assume that we are very similar to God. And consider all the other things. All are considered to have defects in form from before. For us, modern people, this concept seems very easy to accept. But in the 17th century, such statements are not the official voice of society. For Europe at that time, Spinozist could be an altogether critical word. It is often used to criticize those who oppose free thinking. On those heretics who do not respect God, his greatest role is to place emphasis on others. Slander against the Jews of that time. Spinoza. He's a traitor to a nation that doesn't respect God like that. In 1632, Spinoza was born in a wealthy Jewish merchant family in Amsterdam 7. From the 16th century, 1677, the Netherlands is famous for its tolerant social atmosphere. At that time, many Jews were forced to immigrate because of politics and religion. All chose to emigrate to the Netherlands. Spinoza's parents were also among them. The irony is, people who have been conscripted. Now he turns to torment Spinoza. Spinoza studied at a Jewish school as a child, learned Hebrew and Latin. Initial. He received the most traditional Jewish education. His parents also very much hope that in the future he will become a rabbi. However, when he was 12 years old, have studied under a non-Jewish teacher, study philosophy. At that time, Descartes' new philosophy was popular. When he was just 20 years old, Spinoza began to express some heretical ideas. He said, there is no evidence that can prove the soul is immortal. There is also no evidence that can prove angels exist. In the Jewish community at that time, this view was of course very unpolitical. After failing to convince his parents and teachers at school, the church tried to bribe Spinoza with money. Let him keep quiet. However, Spinoza's vision of thought, long gone beyond the boundaries of Jewish doctrine, after many unsuccessful threats and bribes. Finally, July 27, 1656, the Jewish church officially declared permanent expulsion, cursed Spinoza. The Jewish church rules. No one is allowed to return to him. Or written communication. No one should show him any kindness. Cannot live together in the same room. Couldn't have been less than 4 arms lengths away from him. And it's impossible to read any text he writes. Besides, the Jewish church also tried to hire someone to assassinate Spinoza. Because of the persecution of the Jewish church, Spinoza could only make a living by grinding and polishing glass. To make some profit, maintain his life and philosophical career. In 1670, he anonymously published a treatise on political theology. However, after 5 short editions, banned by local authorities. 1673, Heidelberg University once wanted to invite him to be a philosophy professor, but he refused immediately, because of one of the conditions, is not allowed to discuss legitimate religion. This led Spinoza to believe, your freedom of speech is hindered due to inhaling large amounts of glass dust during work, leading to aggravation of his tuberculosis. In 1677, Spinoza died prematurely at the age of only 45. And what we see today, Spinoza's most famous Ethics, with the subtitle, Proof According to Geometric Order, published after his death by his friends. In Spinoza's philosophical system, we can see abstract cognitive philosophy, and discuss metaphysics. However, these are not the key to his philosophical theory. The purpose of all his theories is to lay the foundation for ethics. Spinoza wrote in the preface to his treatise on political theology, wrote, freedom is more precious than anything. Enon Pote, Anirum Pofund Pote, wants to prove the embrace of freedom. Not only does it not hinder social order, moreover, if there is no freedom, then the fear of God cannot flourish, and social security cannot be strengthened either. Here, God is not a personal deity, which is what we talked about before. That is the inherent nature that humans must face. Spinoza said, if one wants to remain free from nature, he must realize so-called emotions and desires, just a form in nature. The reason why people are kidnapped by emotions and desires, because they cannot understand clearly the laws behind my unfortunate experiences. Also mean so-called freedom in Spinoza's ethics, built on this intellectual premise. A person's level of knowledge about nature determine the degree of his freedom from nature. In other words, the higher a person's level of understanding, the level of awareness is higher. You will understand the laws of nature better. The more a person understands human nature and emotions, he will naturally be enhanced in moral compliance. His soul will also gradually become peaceful. Only in the face of unfortunate experiences can patience be achieved. At that time, true freedom and happiness were achieved. Spinoza's view, also a way to help prove why in situations of harm and difficulty, he can maintain peace of mind. Focused entirely on his philosophical career. Don't be bribed by power and money. For Spinoza, ethics is not page by page, empty moral codes and behavioral norms. Ethics is a way of thinking. This way of thinking leads to our perspective of the world. The behavior it extends will lead people to escape from their own constraints. He believes that humans are just servants of emotions and desires, to the point of being overwhelmed by emotions and desires. Dominate your entire life. Humans can only overcome. Only real freedom can be achieved. However, this overcoming is not abstinence. It's about applying a reasonable perception. Some time ago, a large number of genes were obtained. That is freedom as Spinoza calls it. It is the awareness of inevitability. In the field of politics, Spinoza is also one of the representatives of the school of natural law. He is with Hobbes, John Locke and others. Supports social contract theory. But Spinoza argues, people agree to give up their natural rights. It's all about building a democratic republic, not a dictatorship or monarchy. People want to give up freedom in the state of nature. It is in exchange for freedom in the social state. Therefore, the real purpose of politics is the realization of freedom, because freedom is the most important thing in all social activities. Is the most important thing, and Spinoza's influence on Einstein. Far more than that, we all know, Einstein always believed, the whole world exists a simple and common theory. The natural world has an inherent harmony. This is also what guided Einstein. Philosophical motivation for exploration of unified field theory. This is related to Einstein's youth. Experience in passionate philosophical research is inseparable.